Good morning, everyone. It's Brenda Quintana, and I'm going to be doing some stamping with you this morning. I have 3 projects I want to share with you, all using the Beauty Abounds Bundle from Stampin' Up! And the rectangle stitched thinlits. I always have to think about, what are they, thinlits, framelits, or whatever. I think they're thinlits. Framelits. Some of them are called thinlits and some of them are called framelits. They are the little dies that we run through our big shop. Anyway, I have these 3 projects that I'm going to share with you this morning. They range from easy to 3D, so I think you'll love them. And I'm doing them. Last week I talked about the starter kit and what a great deal it is right now. You get $175 worth of product for $99, or you can choose option 2, which adds this tote, the Craft and Carry tote, and you still get the $175. Well, I did a sample starter kit for you last week just to kind of show you how much you can get for that amount. And so I'm taking that starter kit, that sample starter kit, and those are what my projects are based on. So I hope you like them. You can get all of these products out of the Occasions catalog even if you don't get the starter kit, so that's great as well. So I'm just going to get started and show you the projects and make them. If you have questions along the way, please ask them in the comments below. If you need more information about the products or you missed a measurement while I was talking, just make sure you click on my blog link below in the description and it will take you to a page that has photos and measurements and everything like that. And it will also take you to the starter kit page if you want more information about that. So I think that's all I want to say before we get started. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll just jump right in. Okay, it's kind of a stormy day here today. Not stormy, I should say. It's really windy and we've got the sun coming out. So if you see sun streaking across my work surface, I'm sorry. I've got it kind of blocked off with my curtains on the side, but sometimes the sun comes in really powerfully and I have a hard time dealing with that. So these are my projects right here. We'll start off with a simple note card. We'll work our way up to a more complicated card, and then finally we'll do this cute little box. So this over here on the side, this is the Beauty Abounds Bundle. You get the stamp set and you get, these are the framelits, they're called Butterfly Beauty Thinlits. There are so many of them that I had to put them on 2 magnet sheets. This is how I store my dies. So those are a lot of dies for that particular bundle. Then we're going to be using the rectangle stitch framelits, and these are awesome. You'll want to get these because they do stitching on both sides of the cut, so you can have cut on the outside if you're creating a frame or on the edge if you're creating a layer. So these are awesome as well. One of my favorite papers out of the Occasions catalog is this Gingham Gala. Gingham's just a really nice neutral pattern, and they come in 5 different colors, and so nice, beautiful, happy spring colors is what we need right now. The new Balmy Blue blends. Awesome. We need new blends. And then, of course, the Balmy Blue ink pad and the Memento Tuxedo black ink pad. Now, those are not all the supplies I'm using, but they're kind of the main supplies that I'm using for this project. So I thought we'd have a little fun today, and since I did these in Balmy Blue, I thought we'd change up the color palette a little bit so that we wouldn't get bored. So I'm going to substitute for the Balmy Blue today, I'm going to substitute Highland Heather, just for the fun of it. But basically it's just all the same cuts. If you want the Highland Heather option, you just substitute out the Highland Heather ink pad and the Highland Heather Stamp and Blends and Highland Heather cardstock. So you can just do the exact same thing in any color, and that's just the great thing. This Gingham Gala, you could do these cards in any of the colors in the Gingham Gala Designer Series paper. So that makes it really easy if you would prefer a different color. Okay, so let's start off with this note card. And I like to use the Whisper White note cards and envelopes because they're easy peasy. They're already pre-cut and pre-scored. The card front measures 5 inches by 3.5 inches. So the total card is 7 inches by 5 inches, scored in half at 3.5. But these already, if you get them as note cards and envelopes in a cute little packet, you already have the right size envelopes and these are already scored. So this is meant to be easy peasy and fast. So I've got my note card here and I've cut myself a piece of the Gingham Gala Designer Series paper. This is 5 inches by 1/2 inch. Let me fold this open like this so I have an easier time stamping. So for now, just in case I mess up, because sometimes I mess up with easy peasy cards. If you don't want to mess up, you could load this onto your Stamparatus and then you could stamp a whole bunch of these really quickly. So I'm just laying this piece down at the bottom. So if I mess up, I can use a different note card. Okay. And then I'm going to take my Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad. I'm going to take 3 stamps. So I've got my thanks, I've got my big butterfly and my little butterfly from the Beauty Abounds stamp set. This card doesn't use any dies at all, so it's very easy for simple stamping and for the beginner stamper. So I'm just going to ink up my thanks, and you'll notice I don't like to put my stickers on my stamps. The stamps actually do come with labels if you want to use them, and the new stamps that have the labels are super sticky, so you will love those. I just don't have the time to put them on, and I just like to use them just like that. So mine are kind of right out of the box. So I'm going to come down here and stamp this fairly close to my Gingham Gala paper like that. Then I'm going to take my butterfly, my bigger one, and I'm just going to stamp it right to the right of that. Okay, this is very easy. Then this little guy is going to be stamped 3 times. So I'm just going to stamp him once kind of going up, once kind of going to the side, and then once kind of coming up to the top again. This couldn't be easier, right? So then let me just scoot this to the side. I'm going to take my light Highland Heather Stampin' Blends, and I am going to just quickly color these butterflies. So I'm using my brush tip because I want to make it go quickly, and just highlighting the butterfly. You can do the tips too if you want, but this should just take a moment to color. If you want to, you can come back in with the dark Highland Heather and give it a few darker highlights. Or if you want to be more detailed, you could choose to add a little bit more color. But I'm kind of going on 1 color cards. So now all we need to do is add this to the bottom. And this paper, I love it because it's got the little gingham checks and it's got the bigger gingham checks. So you can choose which side. I'm going to use the bigger gingham checks this time. I'm just going to run some snail. My snail is stuck. There we go. Yeah, so if your snail kind of is not working, oops. Oh yeah, okay. Now it's sticking to my fingers. You just kind of roll it forward until it's the adhesive comes out. Sometimes when you break it off, it breaks off too far up here, so there's no sticky left right down near the surface, so it's harder. So now all I need to do is adhere this to the bottom like that. If you have a bone folder, you can smooth down that fold so it lays flat, right? And there you go. So here's one in Balmy Blue and here is one in Highland Heather, and they're both very cute, both simple and easy. And the nice thing is you've got a bunch of different color choices in here, so you could make a bunch of these note cards. The note cards and envelopes come in a 20 pack, so you've got 20 note cards to play with, and this takes up very little designer series paper. But you've got Daffodil Delight, what is it called, Grapefruit Grove, and Lemon Lime Twist in here. So you've got a lot of different colors to work with, and all you do is just add it to the bottom and then add a little Stampin' Blends. Very, very easy. Okay, now let's get on to a harder card. It's not really hard, it's just it has more detail on it. And on the inside here, I also stamped. So this card looks almost, I don't know, I want to say this could actually be the outside of a card too, right? This is just as beautiful. So I wanted to create something that kind of matched the beauty of the outside of the card and the inside. So I'll show you how I did that. So we need to create a frame for the card. So let me grab up my pieces. Need to create a frame for the card. So I want a piece of Whisper White that's the same size as my card front. So this will be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Let me just grab, I have some pieces that I need to move right here. So let me just put my big shot, oops. Okay, my big shot's here. I'm going to be using my magnetic platform, and I've got one of my cutting plates down. When you're cutting the rectangles, it's nice to put them on, to run them through on a bit of an angle, because if you take them straight on, there's kind of a clunk as it goes through the machine, and it's very loud. It runs more smoothly if you put a corner through first. So we're going to use, let me just double check my measurements. I wrote it all down for me. We're going to use the second largest rectangle stitch framelit. Let me peel this off here. So this one right here, if you want to double check and make sure you have the right one, I also have the measurements for this one on my blog, but I'm not going to go into all the details of the measurements here. Just know that this is the second largest one, and you just want to make sure that this is centered because you're creating a frame. So just kind of eyeball it, make sure it looks centered and is straight because you don't want it to look weird. Okay, and then you'll take your second cutting plate, place it on top, and then we're going to run this through. So you can hear that it's not as loud of a clunk if you run it through with one of the points coming through first. So then you're just going to carefully peel this off because there's that detailed stitching that's coming off. So you don't want to do this quickly because you might tear it, especially if it's a light piece. So there's the frame, and I don't know if you can see that. It's got little stitching on the outside, or sorry, on the inside of the frame here. So that's really cool. That's what those framelets do. Now this piece we are not going to use for the card, but it's already got stitching on the outside, so I will save this piece maybe for a different card later on. So you can just set that aside. Then we're going to cut some more. We're going to cut the inside piece of this card. So this inside panel inserts inside here. That way I can make the best use of this paper. I could have also just slipped a piece behind here, but then I wouldn't have had the stitching along the edge, which is a nice little touch. So I'm going to take the same framelit I just used. I know, because it cuts on both sides. So, it adds stitches to both sides of the cut. That's probably the best way to describe it. And I've cut my gingham gala piece. This is measures 3 1/2 by 4 7/8. Remember, measurements are on my blog. And then I'm just putting that same framelit on top of there, and I'm going to run this through. I cut it basically to the right size because I like to preserve as much of my pretty paper as possible. So we're going to have just a little bit of a frame on the outside. So I'm just going to peel this very carefully because this is a light paper. If you pull this too quickly, there is a chance that it could tear. So just do quickly or slowly. There's the stitching. I'll just set that aside. And then later on, you're just going to peel off this extra little piece that got cut off, okay? All right, I hope I don't need that framelit later on, otherwise I'm gonna have to peel that off before I do it. Okay, so let's do the cutting of the butterflies. That's probably the hardest part of the whole thing, is the cutting of the butterflies. So it's not hard though, but it's just the most intensive. So we need both of these butterfly pieces. One is more detailed than the other, and we're going to take a piece of Highland Heather and a piece of basic black. So let me put those down. These are some dryer sheets, and this is going to help remove the little chads that will be created when I run this through. When I buy these for this purpose, I try to get the cheapest no-name brand of dryer sheets that are unscented to do that, because the cheaper ones don't have as much softener on it. It's not the softener we really need. It's the softener on the sheet is a little bit sticky, so it helps to remove those chads, and it also is because of the thickness that it kind of sticks to it. So it's kind of dual purpose. So I'm going to slip one behind each of my cardstock pieces. These pieces each are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That's, you could probably get by with a little less, like you could probably do 4 by 5 1/2, but since I just normally am cutting quarter sheets of cardstock anyway, I just grabbed 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 sheets. So the less detailed one is going to go on my colored cardstock. So if you're using Balmy Blue, it would go on Balmy Blue. I'm using Highland Heather. Make sure your whole butterfly is on there. And then your more detailed one is going to be in the black. So just make sure those are all situated well. And we're going to stick our cutting plate on top. And we're going to run this through. Run through. So there's a lot of detail that it's cutting. So it's like, hear the clunk? Okay, now I'm going to run this back through just to see if we got all the detail. It helps running it twice. Okay, so let me grab this purple one first. And all of the pieces stuck to the dryer sheet, I hope. You can remove the frame first. Okay, there's the frame. You can throw that out. Now you're going to carefully start peeling away the butterflies, and hopefully a lot of those little chads are going to kind of fall away as you do that. All right, a lot of them are just falling away afterwards. All right, so you can kind of flick this piece, and because the dryer sheet, I don't know, for some reason it makes it just really easy that they fall out a lot easier. Now if you have extra pieces, you can run it through with your Big Shot die brush, or you can poke out the little pieces with your paper piercing tool. There shouldn't be too many remaining. So, oh, one more. And there you go. Oh, one more. All right, so there's the bolder piece. Okay, set that aside. And now we're going to take care of the detailed piece. So again, that has removed it. The nice thing, look, there's no pieces stuck to your die, so it's ready to use right away again. I kind of like that. The other thing you can do is you can run this through with adhesive sheet, so it makes it easier to adhere. But when you do that, then you don't have the benefit of the pieces coming out so easily. So it's kind of like, which do you want to do? Do you want to do easier removal of the chads, or do you want to have instant adhering? So I haven't really found a way to do both together well yet. So this is what I decided to do with these ones. So I kind of like to remove that frame first. You can toss that out, or you can also keep the frame and use it as an insert as well. This time I'm tossing it. And then, let me remove some of these bigger pieces real quick. All right, now let's try tearing this off. Hopefully some of these pieces will just stick. Be very careful with this one because it's very detailed and you don't want to tear it. Let's get that last little corner. Okay, so we did pretty well. Again, you can do a little flicking, which kind of helps remove some of them. This one you might want to use your die brush with it because it's got a few more pieces that are going to need to come out. But mine didn't do too badly, so there's just a few left. So I'm just going to hit them real quick with the paper piercing tool. One more right there. Another one right there. Okay, that's pretty good. Yep. All right, so now we've made a royal mess. Don't you just love messes? Someone needs to come here and clean up my craft room. All right, so the way I adhere these together is with Tombow. So like I said before, you could use the multi-purpose adhesive sheet, but then you don't have that easy removal of those little tiny pieces. So I don't mind Tombow. So here with this Tombow, you want to be strategic about it. I'm going to apply it to the more detailed one, which is the black one. And I'm going to do the butterfly bodies. Make sure I hit all of those. So we're kind of doing an anchor. I want to make sure I hit the ends of those antennas. Sorry if I'm going off the screen. Need to make sure not to do that. Hit all of the ends of the antennas because you want to make sure those little pieces get anchored down. And then I'm just going to hit some of the outer pieces with a little bit of Tombow. Anything that I kind of have an edge that is going to stick out, just hit that with a little bit of Tombow. Okay, so now I am going to line this up. I like to start with that bottom butterfly, one of them. I'm just going to kind of lay this on top without really pressing down yet. Just trying to get it lined up bit by bit. And then I'll come back and just kind of start pressing down on my butterfly pieces. Geez Louise, there's a little Chad stuck in there. Come on out. Oh. Okay. All right. See, that wasn't too bad, right? So now that one's ready to go on the front of the card. So let's do some card assembly. Okay, so my card base measures 11 inches by 4 1/4, and I've scored it in half at the 5.5 inch mark. Okay, and now we're going to bring back those pieces that we just cut. We cut the frame and the insert piece. Let me just smooth down my fold a bit with my bone folder. And let's do this frame piece first. It really helps if you take the cap off your glue. That's a good tip for everyone. My son thinks I have a very corny sense of humor. He says he doesn't get it, but guess what? He kind of got my sense of humor too. So the poor kid, he's got my sense of humor. So I'm just going to align this with the front of my card base and then press down. So we've created kind of a little frame, which just adds a little bit of detail to the background. And then we're going to have the little checks on the front. So I'm going to put the adhesive on the big check side. I'm just using a very light bit of adhesive because of glue, because this is designer series paper and you don't want it to warp. So now I'm just going to insert this into the frame, and I want to hold this up to the camera real quick. Oh, come on, shove it to the side. All right. So you can see the little stitching on either side, on a little bit on the frame and a little bit on the gingham gala. It's those little tiny details that people really don't notice, but they notice the overall details, and that's what everyone's attracted to. They don't know why they like it so much, but it's in those little tiny details that make the card so special. So basically, all we have to do is add this. And now this time adding Tombow is a lot easier because we've got the big bold side. So now we can, you know, really add it just to those big bold areas. And I'll make sure I hit those antennas too. Somehow I feel like those antennas kind of need to be anchored down a little bit. So let me get a little bit Tombow everywhere. And then I'm just going to hit the tops of those antennas so they don't so they stick to that card. And okay, so now without getting glue on my fingers, I will carefully add this to the front of the card. So I'm hovering over the front and just kind of seeing where everything will land, making sure that it's somewhat centered. You notice that some of it is going to go off over the frame. That's intentional because I kind of want to create that feeling that the butterflies are bursting from the photo, right? From the picture from the front of the card. Isn't that pretty? So you can see like the blue and the purple, they're both really pretty. Now let me show you how I did the inside of the card. So I have a piece of Whisper white cardstock here, and this piece measures 4 inches by 5¼ inches. And this is just going to be our inside panel for the card. I also cut myself a rectangular frame, and I used a piece of basic black cardstock. And I used, let me see, I used the 5th and the 6th largest rectangle stitched framelets. The measurements are on my blog. This basic black piece started off as 2 3/8 by 3 3/4. So I'll be gluing that down into there. And then I have a Whisper white piece that started out as 2 inches by 3 3/8. And I used the 6th largest rectangles shaped framelit for that. So now we're going to take our stamps from the Beauty Abounds stamp set, and I'm just going to grab this for a sec. So this has great little greetings that go with the framelets. So I'm going to use Our Friendship Isn't One Big Thing, It's a Million Little Things. And so I thought that would look nice with the butterfly theme that I have going on. So Highland Heather, no, not Highland Heather. Yes, Highland Heather. What did I use for the inside? Yes, I stamped in the colored rather than Memento. So let me grab the Highland Heather ink pad for this. And I'm just going to ink up those 2 stamps. They are 2 separate stamps, and I just added them to one block. I cut around them a little bit so they could nest kind of closely, and then I added them to one block. And then I'm just going to come on here, kind of center this, and then stamp down. Okay, so now that's ready to go. And I think I can move this out of the way. So let me see. There's usually one side that has a little bit more of, when you've cut the framelets, there's usually a side that has more texture to it, and that's the side I want to keep up. So I haven't attached that yet. So let me just add my frame first. It's easier when you're doing a frame, it's easier to add the frame first and then the insert. So I've got this, and I want to put this stamped or added kind of centered. Okay, that looks centered, and then we can add this little piece. Slide that in. All right. Now let me just take a quick peek again. Okay, I stamped the butterflies in Highland Heather, or in Balmy Blue, so I'm going to stamp them in Highland Heather. And I just need to clean them off because I stamped them earlier on the note card in black. So I'm just going to reach over, clean those off. I don't want to muddy my ink pads. And where's my Highland Heather ink pad? The other thing I'm going to show you, which I actually should have done before I added the frame, but it's kind of hard to do. It's nice to do it first, but at the same time, then it's easier to kind of see where your frame is going to land if you do it this way. So I'm just going to stick to, I'm going to do it this way. So you can just ink up the little butterfly, and I'm just going to stamp it a couple of times on the edge like that. All right. And then I'm going to take my speckle stamp. This also comes with the Beauty Abounds stamp set. The Beauty Abounds stamp set has a lot of little images that help enhance the die cuts, and so I like to have this. But you'll need a scrap piece of paper. I'm also going to use Highland Heather, but I want to stamp off a bit because I don't want the intensity. I just want like a little bit. Can you kind of see? It's just not quite as intense. If I stamped it full strength, it would be like really dark as the butterfly. But now that I'm just stamping off, it's just a little bit, and I'm not even pressing down very hard. So I'm going to do that down here. It just adds just a little bit to the card. I know normally I don't spend that much time on the inside of the card, but I just felt like the beauty of the outside of that card just needed a little bit of happiness on the inside of the card as well. So just scoot those to the side. Then make sure you have your card going the right way. You would hate to attach it upside down or on the wrong side. And then you can just add a little bit of Tombow to this panel. And this will center on here. And notice like I cut it just a little bit, this panel just a little bit to the inside, so you still have that little purple peeking out on the side. And there's the card. So the two cards side by side, either in Balmy Blue or Highland Heather, and then you open them up and you have a beautiful greeting. So you know you could actually do this inside as an outside as well. All right, so now on to the box. I just felt like I needed to create a box with this whole thing as well. And what I did for the box that is special is I used the sizing from the rectangle framelets to make sure that I created it to that size, so it had like that frame coming around it. So I sized the box to, you know, to maximize the framelets to make it look nice. See, I even stamped on the side here. I hope I don't forget to do that. But so let me grab out my pieces for my box. And you're going to need your Simply Scored. We're going to do the scoring first. And let me tell you the measurements of these. So we're going to start off by doing the lid first. Okay? So the lid, the measurements that you'll need are 7/3 by 6 inches. And we are going to score at the 1.5 inch mark on all 4 sides, keeping it simple. 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and 1.5. So there's my lid scored. And then for the inside piece or the bottom piece, where are my measurements? 7 1/4 inches by 5 7/8. And don't worry if you didn't get that, they are on my blog. Just click on the link below, okay? Also scoring at the 1.5 inch mark. To keep it simple, both pieces are scored at the 1.5 inch mark on all 4 sides. All right, we are done with the scoring board. All right, you can set the bottom of the box aside for now. We'll work on that afterwards. This is the hard, well, not the hardest. The top part of the box, the lid, gets the most work. So you can go ahead, if you like to use your Stampin' Trimmer to cut these, you can definitely do that. But to show you what most people do, I'm just going to cut with my regular scissors. So on the long sides of both of these, you're going to turn these corner pieces into tabs. So you're just going to cut up along the score line until you hit the first score intersection. So just find the score line, cut up. Okay, so that's on the long side. Turn, do that for the long side as well. So we're cutting into both long sides. Now there's 2 or 3 things I need to do before I assemble this. So let me not forget to do those. I made sure that I wrote myself instructions because I get so excited and I want to, oh, let's assemble it. And then I'm like, oh no, I didn't do the stamping. And trust me, it's very hard to stamp on a box when it's already assembled. It doesn't work so well. So, okay, the Highland Heather ink pad again. I have a question. Someone asked me a question. Let me check this. Wonder if those butterflies can be separated after die cutting. Yes, they can. So I'm going to show you how I did that because see, look, I separated this butterfly from its little friends. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so let me just move back up. Okay, so we've got the Highland Heather ink pad and we've got this beautiful flourish, and I thought, wow, that just fits perfectly on the edge. Let's do that, right? So let's ink up. And I'm just going to, this is my guide right down here. Just stamp in the rectangle, just make sure it's somewhat centered. Stamp. Look how pretty. It's so easy. You know, I sometimes do complicated projects, so when I go to decorate things, I want to keep it somewhat easy because, you know, you don't want to have every part of your project to be difficult, right? There, that's easy. Okay, the other thing we want to do while this box is, I'm going to close this ink pad, stubborn little ink pad. All right, we want to put some thumb grips into the sides right here. So on the short sides, we're going to do thumb grips. So I'm using my 3/4 inch circle punch, and we're just going to punch halfway to create those thumb grips. So I'm going to eyeball it, right? So you just kind of make sure you have the same amount of cardstock on either side and eyeball it and punch, right? And then do this on the other side. So the short sides get thumb grips, the long sides get stamping. All right, then we need to fold along all the score lines. It's easier to do this before you start gluing. Now, if you don't like Tombow, you can use tear and tape. These seams don't have that much tension on it, so you can get away with tear and tape if you prefer. I like Tombow. Tombow is my friend. So just bring that together. Tombow's my friend, and it's now sticking to my fingers too. But you know, I kind of got used to that. You know, I kind of got used to kind of rolling it off my fingers, so it doesn't bother me. I know it bothers some of you, but yeah. Tombow is one of those adhesives that just really adheres well, and that's what makes me happy. I don't want my projects falling apart, so it makes me happy not to have them fall apart. You do need to hold down the seams for a few seconds and make sure you kind of give them a little squish though, because you need the contact, right? So, and a little bit of Tombow here. Okay. See how it's coming together? Let me add some Tombow to this last tab. Basically, I don't know if I did a very good job of showing you what I was doing with the tabs, but basically the tabs just all get adhesive on them and then they all get folded in, and you just want to make sure that you're matching up those corner seams well so that they look nice. So there is your lid. It is not completed yet. We need to do the top, but let me show you real quick how to do the bottom, because it is very easy. We're going to do the same thing. We cut into the long sides to create those tabs. Now, if you wanted to, you could stamp on the inside bottom of this box, or you could add a piece of Gingham Gala Designer Series paper to the inside of the box too. I left mine plain and white, but there is opportunity to embellish this inside piece. I just kind of wanted to show how to do the inside or the outside. Okay, so I just folded those along the score lines. So now we just need to assemble this as well. So Tombow, you know what we could do? Why don't we put Tombow on all four corners first, and let's see how good I am at not getting myself all stuck into the glue. So all four corners have Tombow. Then I'm going to fold in, hold, fold in, fold. Now I sincerely hope that my measurements are right, that I copied down the correct measurements. I think I did. Sometimes I started off doing this box a little bit sized a little differently. So sometimes when I go back, it's like, oh, okay, not quite the right measurements. But I think I got the measurements right. One more. The test is coming. The test, did I get the right measurements? Okay. Take a deep breath. Will it fit? Will the lid fit on the base? Ta-da! It does! Yay! That's always good when that happens when you're live, right? You don't want to have the wrong kind of measurements. Okay, so now we need to cut a frame for the box and insert piece for the box. So I'm going to bring out my Big Shot again. And now I have the lovely mess of my butterflies from before. Yes, yes. Now I do actually have to clean it up because I don't want little pieces to be all over the place. Okay, that wasn't too bad. All right, so we need a piece of cardstock for the top. Let me see what my measurements are. Huh, I did not give you the measurements. That's not very good. Let me grab my ruler. I will update those measurements on my blog, but I used a piece of 4 5/8 by 3 1/4 inches to start off with, and I am going to use, let's see, I need the 3rd and the 5th largest framelets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, make sure you put it through on an angle, right? If you can, that's better. So I'll hold this up to the camera because I am kind of out of camera viewing range. Let's see how that looks. All right, let me hold that up. So I got that Whisper White piece, and I'm going to cut both of those rectangles at the same time. The cool thing will be that there'll be stitching on both sides of everything, so it will be kind of cool when I'm done. Okay. I know I'm just like messing with how it looks, making sure that it's somewhat centered. Okay. And then I'm going to run this through. And now I'm going to pop this first framelit out. This inside piece right here is an extra piece that you can reserve for later. And this is the frame. We want to keep the frame. Popping this out. All right, so this is the frame that will go on the top of the box. And you'll have like a little bit left over. I don't need that piece for this. And it's too skinny to use for anything else. I've got a piece of Gingham Gala Designer Series paper that I'm using for the insert. Okay, and I didn't write that down either, so let me give you the measurements. 3 3/4 inches by 2.5. And I'll go update my blog afterwards with those measurements. Yeah, I think it's actually the same size almost as the frame width that I cut it to, so that's probably why I didn't do that, but I still want to give you the starting measurements. So this one, I'm using the 5th largest framelit. So the smaller framelit that I used on this frame is now going to be used on the gingham. And then I'll just run this through. Squeak, squeak, squeak. My Big Shot has been squeaking forever. Like, it's not a new thing. Maybe one day it will die, but this Big Shot was the Big Shot that I got when Stampin' Up! First came out with Big Shot. So it's lasted a long time. I got it like in the very first run of the Big Shots that came out. So it's doing well. It's served a long time because I used it for classes before that. All right, so let's glue this frame on here. Tombow again. Glue the frame. It is so windy out here. I don't know if you can hear that out there, but I have the wind like just rushing through the outside. So see how I sized it just perfectly for the top of the box? That's what I wanted. You know, I'm making the use of those rectangle stitch framelits. So even without the gingham, it looks really nice. See how there's stitching on the edge and then stitching on the inside. So that's cool. And then my gingham piece also has stitching. So I'm going to put this on the inside piece because we want it to match the card, right? Because this is the gift box that matches the card, so you could make it, you know, as a gift. All right, so now the last thing we need to do is create that butterfly. So because I didn't want to have to show you how to die cut everything again, I already created this piece earlier so that I wouldn't have to go through that again. Not that it's hard or bad or anything like that. It's just you didn't need to see it again because I've already shown you how to do it. So now I'm going to see, why does my phone always ring during my Facebook Lives? Okay, it's spam again, or one of those telemarketers, because it's going to shut off immediately. So when we're cutting these apart, we're going to be very careful. I don't know how good it's going to look on the edge of this black. This first one I created, I actually just used the center part of the die. So I actually just cut away little pieces of the butterflies here, and I didn't preserve the whole because I just needed this butterfly. But this time I created the whole thing, and let's see how much of these little butterflies I can preserve. So I'm just going to come along here and cut. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let me see how this other butterfly fared. Not too bad. So I can use this one on another project. Okay, so let's see if I can keep it nice and thin, the cutting. There's just a little bit of a line to cut. All right, so I preserved that. And how does this look? Pretty good. I managed to get just a little bit of black on the bottom, so that will frame that up nicely. Let's see if I can do that for this bottom piece too. Let me curve around. Yep, that looks good. And I might just come back afterwards and just smooth out that corner just a little bit so it doesn't look so square. But I think I can use this on another project as well. See, isn't that good? We're actually making good use of these little tiny pieces. So it's worthwhile to do the whole die if you know that you're going to have, use these little pieces. Isn't that cute? The little tiny butterflies. Here, I'm gonna bring out the extra butterfly pieces so you can see. This could be like a whole other project, right? All those little pieces. So pretty. But now I've got this main butterfly here that I can glue to the front, and it's going to, you know, match my card. So that will be a nice thing. So next thing I always get asked, what will you put inside the box? Well, I didn't put anything inside this box this time, but let's see. Let's see what I've got in-house to show you sizing. All right, let me grab some candy. Give me a second. I always have these kisses on hand. Let's see what I got. I've got nuggets. Let's leave the kisses this time because they're not breaking. So just to give you an idea of sizing, these are big boxes, right? So when you open this up, like, this is 1.5 inches deep, and nuggets are about, I think, 1/2 inch tall. Yeah, they're only 1/2 inch tall. So this would fit like a ton of nuggets. So you want to maybe have bigger candy, like maybe some Linder truffles if you're going to do candy, because that will fill that up space nicely. Ghirardelli chocolates. So one of the bigger Ghirardelli chocolates. So these would fit 2 side by side, so you could stack them up quite a few. So you could probably get about eight of those. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So that would be, so you could get 10 of those, but probably a little better maybe just to have 8, so it's not quite all the way to the top. So that would fit in there, just to give you an idea of sizing of about how much stuff that you can get into the box, or a small little gift. Jewelry, of course, is really nice and would fit in there. But it's just a nice size box, bigger box than sometimes we make, right? So there is the purples and the blues. Oops. And that is the whole project. So I do have a host code going on my blog, and if you use this host code and spend $75 this month, you are going to get this beautiful, what do we call it? Have to find the English. It's reversible ribbon. It is Granny Apple Green on one side, and I believe it's Coastal Cabana on the other side. So this is really great ribbon to get for free. Also, during celebration, you can earn a free product with every $50 or $100 spent. So if you spend $150, you could get 3 choices, or you could 3 $50 choices. Or if you just spend $50, you can choose 1 choice. I did not use any celebration products today, but there is a separate catalog for that. If you need a catalog, please message me and I will get one to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me turn around. Thank you so much for joining me today. And please, if you have any questions, let me scroll up and see if there's any questions. I don't see any questions except for the one about separating them, and I showed you that when I was doing the box. So yeah, I think I got everyone's questions. So if you have more questions, if you're watching this video on YouTube, it is not live, but if you have questions, please post them in the comments and I will get to them. Or there's also a little contact link you can click on and you can contact me directly if you don't want your message to post publicly. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. The starter kit is so awesome. I've already got a few people that signed up to get it because it's such a great deal. This bag that you can get with the option 2 starter kit, it is phenomenal. It is a really nice bag. It is like canvas, it's thick. And then you still get $175 worth of product for only $129 if you choose that particular option, and I know that's a great deal. I had to pay $50 to get that tote bag, and you're getting it for only paying $30 more for your starter kit. So it is a really, really good deal right now to get that starter kit. Okay guys, let me know if you have any questions and have a great rest of the week. Take care. Bye-bye.